Between Science and Faith, the centenary of the Studium Biblicum Franciscanum. Following the celebrations in Rome, we present a series that tells the story of the scientific institution for the research and academic teaching of scripture and archaeology of biblical countries. In the first installment, Brother Rosario Pierri and Brother Claudio Bottini introduce us to the 100-year history of the SBF. Italian commissioners visit the custody of the Holy Land mission in Syria. The trip to Syria by the delegation of 6 commissioners of the Holy Land to learn more about the custody's expression in the country. They visited Franciscan community in Damascus, Aleppo and Latakia. A group of presbyters prepares to take pilgrims back to the Holy Land. A group of priests from the Dioceses of Milan, Monza and Cremona, with strong ties to the Holy Land, have chosen to come at this difficult time for local Christians to show closeness, pray with them, and respond to the Custos' call to resume pilgrimages. Israeli statistics on the Christian population in Israel. Israel's Central Statistical Service on the Christian population in Israel has released new statistics showing that some 187,000 Christians live in Israel, making up 1.9% of the country's total. The Christian population grew by 1.3%. The Studium Biblicum Franciscanum is a scholarly institution for the research and academic teaching of Holy Scripture and the archaeology of biblical countries that turned 100 years old. Students come from 5 continents. In teaching at the SBF, special attention is given to biblical languages and environmental knowledge. The study of biblical history and geography in conjunction with visits to numerous archaeological sites, allows students a deeper contact with places. Brother Rosario Pierri, current Dean of the Institute, introduces us to the 100-year history of SBF.
La sede dello Studium Biblicum Franciscanum.
The headquarters of the Studium Biblicum Franciscanum is connected to the convent of the Flagellation. It is located in the Muslim quarter, and thus in the eastern area of the old city and a short distance in line from the temple esplanade and the mosques. A little further away, one can see the domes of the Holy Sepulchre. The Flagellation in times of peace is a destination for thousands of pilgrims. They come here to pray and begin the Stations of the Cross in the courtyard, that also holds the chapel of condemnation of Lithostratus. This chapel has been considered since the Middle Ages to be the place where Jesus' precession took place. The Studium Biblicum Franciscanum was conceived by the Custody of the Holy Land in 1901 and has operated continuously since 1924. The anniversary celebration is also an opportunity to reflect on the history and identity of the Studium Biblicum. In 2001, the Studium became the Faculty of Biblical Sciences and Archaeology. Enrollment is open to priests, religious, and lay people. This year marks the centenary of the founding of our school, which was inaugurated in 1924. The official inauguration of the Studium took place on January the 7th, 1924. It was the then Custos of the Holy Land, Father Ferdinando Diotallevi, who presided over the opening ceremony.
Padre Ferdinando Diotallevi a presiedere la cerimonia di apertura.
The story of the Studium is linked to that of the custody. It is true that it was conceived and founded at the beginning of the 20th century, but its birth is the natural outgrowth of a much more remote process. One only needs to pick up Father Bernardino Amico's Trattato delle piante et immagini dei sacri edificii di Terra Santa, 1609, and Father Francesco Quaresmi's Elucidatio Terrae Sancte, 1639, to be convinced of this.
1639.
The history of SBF in the recollections of Brother Claudio Bottini, active Professor Emeritus, Dean of the Studium Biblicum from 2002 to 2011.
Io sono testimone veramente.
I really witness the last 50 years. I didn't really know the earliest ones. The very first one was Father Gaudentius Orfani, a Nazarethian. Though raised here, son of the custody of the Holy Land, who was the first director and the first professor of archaeology. I met Father Saller in the very last part of his life, an extremely serious and committed man, austere as a way of life. He was known to all of us as the archaeologist of Mount Nebo. Father Bagatti had a very rich personality, and what struck me about him as well was his attention to history. A great archaeologist, when I came, Bagatti was known not only for the many publications, but for the excavations he had done in Nazareth, in Ain Karem, and for the studies he had done on the itineraries. For Brother Bottini, the Bible study was already born with a double soul, that is, teaching center and research center. When I arrived in 1975, I found people I already knew from my studies in Rome, such as Brother Frederick Mans, Brother Nicati, and also Brother Piccirillo, reports Brother Bottini. We have contributed to the development of the Studium Biblicum always as a research center and teaching center. In 2001, greatly thanks to Father Frederick Mans, whom we remember with nostalgia and gratitude, there was the elevation of the Studium Biblicum from a section of the Theological Faculty of Rome with a specialization in the Bible to the Faculty of Biblical Sciences and Archaeology, a recognition that even surprised us but naturally gave us immense pleasure. I remember Father Pierbattista Pizzaballa very young, who came from Rome with a baccalaureate in theology, and here he did his studies until he got his license. After that, we would have liked to have him as a professor, but his home province said a partial yes, because he stayed in Jerusalem for some more time, studying at university. Then he became Custos of the Holy Land, then Apostolic Administrator, then Patriarch, and then Cardinal.
Apostolico, poi patriarca e quindi cardinale.
From January the 8th to the 15th, 2024, a delegation of 6 Holy Land commissioners for Italy made a trip to Syria to learn more about the reality of the custody in this country. Coming as Italian language commissioners to Syria for us was an idea, a project already planned last year. We were supposed to come in October, but because of the unstable situation on October the 7th, we had to postpone this visit a little bit. The friars visited the Franciscan communities in Damascus, Aleppo and Latakia, with their parishes and missions, learning about the work of the friars, which ranges from pastoral care to aid projects toward those most in need. Brother Valentino wishes that the projects in Syria can continue, aided above all by prayer, but also by works of solidarity. Coming to Syria is a wonderful opportunity, which has been awaited for years and which has finally been realized. It has confirmed me in so many ways. First of all, in faith, in seeing this wonderful people who have been living this fidelity to Jesus Christ for centuries. Even today, despite the fatigue, the difficulties, the pain, the great suffering of this people, they are living stones on which the Franciscan community with wisdom is building a living church capable of promoting very beautiful things. The commissioners of the Holy Land have a mission to promote the lives of Christians in the territory through their outreach campaigns. In Syria, especially after the earthquake, the Commissioner's help focused on the soup kitchen and the care center in Aleppo, an important trip that supports fellowship and hope among Syria's Christian communities, according to Brother Matteo.
Attraversare questa terra, seppur
Crossing this land, albeit with some fatigue and also with some discomfort, is always an important occasion for us. To live that experience of communion that must foster every commissariat between the communities of the Holy Land, of the Christians of the Holy Land, and the communities assisted right in the territories of their competence. A group of priests from the Dioceses of Milan, Monza and Cremona, mostly priests with strong ties to the Holy Land, celebrating the Eucharist in the Church of Gethsemane, chose to come at this very difficult time for local Christians to show closeness, pray with them, and respond to the Custos' call, urging them to resume pilgrimages to at least Jerusalem and Bethlehem. They did so in response to the invitation of Adriana Sigilli, who organized the trip.
L'idea di fare questo pellegrinaggio all'inizio dell'anno 2024 è nato soprattutto da una...
The idea of making this pilgrimage at the beginning of the year 2024 came mainly from a spiritual urge of mine to return to the holy places. I invited the priests to come here and pray for peace. This is the pilgrimage we are making, but also to meet people and listen to their suffering from these months of war, which have completely isolated all the Christians living here in the Holy Land. It is also an important year, the year that marks the 60th anniversary of Paul VI's visit. Paul VI said that making a pilgrimage here to the Holy Land means wanting to reread a fifth gospel. The hope of this spiritual journey that we are doing together is that other people will follow our experience.
L'auspicio di questo percorso spirituale che stiamo facendo insieme è che altre persone seguano questa nostra esperienza.
The intention of this pilgrimage is twofold. It also wants, in some way, to be a sign of hope, of being able to resume returning to this land so beloved by all, and somehow, at the same time, to be able to be close to populations that are suffering. Trying to understand from the locals how they are living, how they are suffering, how they are also reading this situation, because there are always two readings of the same facts, of the same reality. It's important to know them without judging them, but trying to understand, to enter inside the pain, the drama of each one. And this is the path we are trying to take these days. Father Andrea was here with his parishioners just before the war. This time of desolation that Jerusalem is experiencing is for him the visible sign of a drama that cannot, however, fail to open itself to hope. This return of mine is quite strong, because on the one hand, there is this impact of finding the city deserted, of not seeing pilgrims around and thinking back to how many pilgrims there were in September. In some respects, the reaction has been to experience it with greater faith and to feel these places as the origin of faith and hope, even though at this moment, on a human level perhaps, you don't see much of them. Precisely because there is a lack of pilgrims, there is a lack of people on the holy places. On the other hand, I also feel strongly this call for friendship and closeness, for fraternity. In these years, I have met history. I have also met some Christian brothers and sisters who live here in the Holy Land, so even the mere fact of coming to greet them, of showing that one tries to come to them, I think it is thus a sign of friendship, of closeness, of true fraternity. After the visit to the Terra Santa school, where they were welcomed by Father Ibrahim Faltas, the presbyters also had the opportunity to talk about the current situation with both Monsignor William Shomali, Patriarchal Vicar for Jerusalem, and the Custos of the Holy Land, Brother Francesco Patton. Both of them, at two different times, welcomed them by offering a time of dialogue and discussion, and by delivering the Holy Land's greetings and affection for the Christians of the dioceses from which they had come. The Central Statistical Service released statistical data in December 24, 2023, indicating that around 187,000 Christians live in Israel, making up 1.9% of the country's total population. The Christian population thus grew by 1.3%. According to the data, Arab Christians make up 75.3% of Israeli Christians and represent 6.9% of the total Arab population in Israel. Most Arab Christians live in the northern district and Haifa. 38.7% of non-Arab Christians live in the central region and Tel Aviv, while 36.5% live in the northern region. Nazareth, 20.8 thousand people, Haifa, 16.8 thousand people, Jerusalem, 13,000 people, and Shefamr, 10.6 thousand people, are the cities with the largest Arab Christian populations. In 2022, 815 marriages occurred. Husbands have an average age of approximately 30.7 years, while the average age of wives is 27.4 years. Average age lower than that of brides and grooms of other religions. In 2022, 3,343 children were born to Christian mothers, of whom about 73% were Arab Christian women. In 2022, the total birth rate for Christian women dropped to an average of 1.68 children per woman. Christian Arab women have an even lower birth rate, with 1.62 children per woman. A Christian-led family averages 2.99 people, almost equal to that of a Jewish family, 3.02, and lower than that of a Muslim family, 4.3. The age composition of the Christian population is different from that of Jews and Muslims. The percentage of Christians in the 0 to 19 age group is 25.4%, lower than the 35% of the Jewish population and the 42.4% of the Muslim population. In terms of education, 26,776 Christian students attended primary and secondary education, constituting 1.4% of total students. In addition, 84.1% of Christian students in the classes were eligible to receive a high school diploma. Only 34.1% of all Arab high school graduates and 55.1% of Arab Christians and only 33.9% of non-Arab Christians continued their studies for a bachelor's degree within 8 years of high school graduation. The percentage of women among Christian students was the same as the percentage of women among all students. Compared with Muslim students, Christians tend less towards the study of education sciences and prefer more the study of engineering. The participation level among Christians ages 15 and up in 2022 was 70.5%, 73.5% for men and 68.2% for women. A gesture of solidarity to support the holy places and the needs of the brothers in the land of Jesus. We work together with the mission of the custody of the Holy Land. Our accounts can be found in the QR code.